Hello everyone, very nice of you to stop by for another video. An upside of rolling distributions like Arch Linux is that they stay on continuously updated repositories. This typically means you only need to install a rolling OS once and just keep it updated. The idea is to avoid potentially disruptive upgrades when a new release gets pushed out in the more traditional model. Think Ubuntu. A downside to the rolling model is that even with great quality control, an update might come along and break your system, even making it unbootable. Years ago, Arvin Schnell of OpenSUSE came up with a fantastic solution for pairing the btrfs or btrfs file system, which is built into the Linux kernel with Snapper, the ultimate snapshot tool. Should a configuration change or a problematic update mess up your system, you can simply revert the system state and carry on. We'll take a closer look at Snapper right after this. OpenSUSE Tumbleweed is a fine rolling Linux distro and has Snapper pre-configured to a great effect and polish. Arch Linux is a do-it-yourself rolling distribution and doesn't include Snapper by default unless you manually set things up. That's what this video is all about. Now, to get past the lengthy Arch installation process and dive right into Snapper, I'm going to specifically configure EndeavourOS Apollo, works also with Artemis, with the Calamares installer. You can also do this with EasyArcher or Arch Linux GUI live installers, by the way. I haven't tested Manjaro, but that's not really Arch anyway, since they have their own separate repos. We'll boot from the EndeavourOS default selection. It launches into XFCE by default as the live environment. We have networking working, so you'll need to do that for this tutorial to work for you. Just fix the screen resolution, and we'll update the mirrors so that our mirror list uses the local fastest mirrors, and we'll save that to the mirror list. And so what we're going to do is customize the install process and modify Calamares defaults to make the Snapper demo work today. So we've got a couple of ways to customize what to install. First off is the home live user user_packagelist.txt file, where we just add some regular repo packages, not AUR, so that you have them available on the freshly installed system. The other way is to use the user_commands.bash script file, where you can run certain commands as root during the install. We'll skip that for today. We'll just use the first option, which is a very simple package list file. So let's do that now. So just open up a terminal here and make it nice and large so you guys can hopefully read what I'm typing here. So let's edit with nano user_packagelist.txt. And we're going to add a couple of files here, Snapper, because that's what we're demoing today. Also snap-pack, that is for taking snapshots automatically with every Pacman transaction. Also grub-btrfs for booting from said snapshots. So if, for example, your system is broken, you can't boot anymore, it'd be great to boot from an older snapshot. Okay. Now we're going to modify the Calamares btrfs setup routines here. Under etc Calamares modules, I'd like to edit as root mount.conf, because the default Calamares btrfs setup is not quite optimal, I found, for snapshot and booting from snapshots. So, or Snapper rather. So the first mountPoint we're going to modify is we'll put /.snapshots. That's where the Snapper snapshots are stored by default. We'll call that subvolume @snapshots. And then we're going to simplify this var mountPoint /var as @var. And in my opinion, through my testing, this is the simplest configuration for btrfs that allows all the functionality for Snapper and booting from snapshots and rollbacks to work. So that's done. I think we can just launch Calamares now. So let's start the installer. We're doing an online method to make sure we get the latest packages, since our networking is working already. And so Apollo still uses 3.2.54. Artemis uses 3.2.60, I believe, but we'll just go with the defaults here. Again, all this works with Artemis, what you see here in the tutorial today. So we'd end up with two partitions, the EFI system partition and the btrfs root partition. We'll install Plasma KDE as the desktop today. And so that pre-selects certain things here, including KDE desktop, and also our custom packages from the user package list that we modified. Snapper, Snappack, and grub-btrfs. That looks good. So let me create my user account, call this machine snapper-1, give myself a password, type it twice to make sure I typed correctly. Looks good. We'll make ourselves a sudo user here. All right, so this is what it proposes to do. Looks good to me. Let's install it and begin this tutorial as soon as possible. This is going to be a long video. Okay, it installed. So now we restart. Yeah, there we go. Restart the system. And there we go. First boot of our freshly installed EndeavourOS system with properly configured btrfsSubvolumes. So logging in. Yes, safe landing. The bright and colorful default KDE Plasma wallpaper. Let's change the display resolution again, 1920 by 1080. And we're going to update the mirrors as well. Do a little housekeeping if you guys don't mind. Almost done here. This looks good. Let's save that to the Pacman mirror list after I give my password for elevated privileges. And we won't show this anymore. We're done with the EOS welcome. Yes, I remember. Okay, some quick settings. Almost done here configuring. Dark mode I prefer. Also I like to clicking selection mode. And we're going to also switch to 125% global scale. Since this is the X11 session, not Wayland, I think we have to just log out and log back in again for the new global scale to take effect. So let me log in again. And yes, that's a little better. Yes, I hope you guys can read everything here. Let's launch the console. Let's make it a nice big window here. All right, give ourselves some real estate. Okay, that should be big enough. So let's do a yay. That's the AUR package manager. Make sure everything's up to date. Looks like it is. Good, so we can proceed. Let's do a neofetch for your reference. So this is what we're running, EndeavourOS 5.18.5 kernel, Plasma 5.25.1, an excellent release of KDE Plasma. Cool. 760 megabytes used out of 4 gig on this virtual machine. That is not too bad, considering this is a full desktop environment with all the bells and whistles. So let's do a sudo-s for root shell. Let's switch to the root directory. And so DUF shows us what we have here. Your file systems. We're We've got //.snapshots, home and var are btrfs subvolumes, and /boot/EFI is our VFAT VDA1 partition. And VDA2 is the rest of the disk. That's btrfs. Okay, very simple setup, the bare minimum to get this working. So let's configure Snapper. Since Snapper's already installed, right? We did that with the custom package list in the Calamares installer. So let's unmount /.snapshots and remove /.snapshots, because when we configure Snapper, it will create this directory automatically. So let's do snapper-c for configuration, root, because it's the root file system we're configuring for, create-config/. So that creates our basic bare bones root configuration. As I said, btrfsSubvolume list / shows us that we've got the snapshots top level subvolume here, but also the configuration creation created another .snapshots subvolume down below. So we have to get rid of that. We can do that by typing btrfs subvolume delete /.snapshots. That gets rid of the extra snapshots that the creation process automatically created, helpfully, but not helpful in this case. Good. Okay, so now we have a non-redundant subvolume list, as you can see. All right. So let's recreate the .snapshots directory. And if we look at our file system table under etc fs tab, you can see that the /.snapshots mountPoint btrfs subvolume mount is already configured. So we just have to do mount-a, and that should remount the /.snapshots directory. So if you can do an lsblk, as you can see, VDA1 is the EFI boot partition, and VDA2 are all the btrfs subvolumes. Okay, so let's do a btrfs subvolume get default /. So the default is at the top of the tree, the file system tree, ID 5. We want the default subvolume to be the root subvolume @. So we can fix that by typing btrfs subvol list / and look up what the @ path ID is. In this case, it is 256. So we know what the ID is. We need that to be the default so we can boot from a Snapper snapshots via grub. So in order to do that, we need to set the default to 256. So btrfs subvolume set-default 256 /, which is what the top level btrfs root is. And so now the default, when you get default, it shows the proper default subvolume, which is @ and ID 256. Cool. All right. So next, let's see, do I have Vim? No, I don't have Vim. So let's fix that by typing pacman-S vim. Let's install that quickly. And it's done. And look, a snap pack already created pre and post snapshots. So it does a snapper pre-snapshot, snapshot 1, which is the pre-transaction hook that snap pack does. And it installs the Vim runtime and all the Vim package support packages. And then it runs the post-transaction hooks, which means it performs a snapper post snapshot of our configuration, our root configuration, which is snapshot number 2. So there you go. So that already works. It seems to work fine. If we do a snapper ls, you can see snapshot 0 is our current configuration. 1 is pre, 2 is post. and it'll tell you what it did. So it's a perfect history for the changes you do to your system via Pacman. So let's vim etc snapper configs root. So I'm going to use the Arch Wiki's configuration suggestion. I'm going to leave all these like space limitations. You want to make sure you don't have too many snapshots accumulate on your root file system, otherwise you suffer slowdowns. So you want to make sure the limits are kept here. So Snapper takes care of that automatically. So I'm going to allow groups as wheel, so all the admins can do Snapper ls and do some basic Snapper operations. And so I'm going to modify the limits for timeline cleanup. I'm going to do the same thing as the Arch Wiki suggests. Do everything the Arch way here in this video. This is an Arch Linux video. Check the Arch Wiki, by the way, for this and all kinds of documentation on what I'm doing here today. So, yeah, we set the timeline limits properly, seem to be a reasonable state. We don't have to restart Snapper because it automatically reads any updates to its configuration file and makes the changes on the fly. So let's change on recursive :wheel for the wheel group /.snapshots. So the entire wheel group, including ourselves, are now being able to see what's in this /.snapshots directory. As you can see, the Snapper snapshots are read-only. That is expected and normal. So let's enable with systemctl now grub-btrfs.path that monitors the snapshots subdirectory for any changes. And we're going to sync up our grub menu, boot menu, with grub-makeconfig-o boot grub-grub.cfg. Got to do this regularly to make sure the grub menu is in sync with your snapper list. As you can see, it found 2 snapshots already. So it looks like those 2 entries are already in the grub submenu. I'll show that in a bit. Okay. So, all successful. Let's enable cleanups as well. Like I said just a moment ago, you don't want to have too many snapshots accumulate. You need to manually clean them out as well. I'll show how you do that later in this video. But to keep things running smoothly, let's enable now snapper-timeline.timer. So once an hour, it makes a snapshot, and then it cleans itself up after a certain number of timeline snapshots. And also the cleanup timer, so that the number of snapshots are kept down to a reasonable amount. Okay, and you can play around with these timers as you see fit, but defaults are good enough for this exercise. So let's do a manual snapshot post-install and config. So that's going to be our first manual snapshots. It's going to be a good idea to do this now in case we screw up the system in the future. Never know. So that's very simple. As root, snapper-c root create -d, and I'm going to put a whole bunch of asterisks here to make sure it stands out. Base system configuration. We'll close it with 3 more asterisks, and those are all in quotes. And see, it's instantaneous. btrfs is copy on write, so it does snapshots instantaneously. So let's make sure that we get our grub menu synced up with grub-makeconfig-o boot grub-grub.config. And there you see we've got 3 snapshots now, including, in reverse chronological order by the way, our most recent single snapshot. So there it is, base system configuration. That's our safe fallback snapshot in case something goes wrong here. All right, all successful. Let's revert back to our regular user. So ID, I'm Steven, and my group's membership includes wheel. So Snapper LS works because the Snapper directory also is a group wheel. So there we go. So that works. Configuration is done. So let's type neofetch again. You've seen this already. So let's test Snapper in snapshots. Let's do sudo pacman-r neofetch. Let's uninstall neofetch and test the automation here. As you can see, it performs a pre-hook and a post-hook. So pre-snapshot and a post-snapshot. Snapshots 4 and 5, respectively, for the pre-uninstall and the post-uninstall of neofetch. So it captures both system states, both pre-system state and post-system state of the uninstall operation. Again, it's a pacman operation, so it should automatically run Snapper. As you can see, we've got now 4 and 5, numbers 4 and 5 snapshots, a pre and a post. Okay, so let's see, what can we do with this? First of all, let's do Snapper status for ... 5 and take a look and see what the difference is between these snapshots on the file system. So if you hit enter, you can see the C is for change, so it changed the boot grub-btrfs.config file because it updated the boot menu, right? And then it uninstalled or removed neofetch and all these support files. I didn't know neofetch had a license. That's interesting. Okay. All right, and the man page for neofetch as well. All right. So let's suppose the uninstall was a mistake. We want neofetch back. So that's very simple with Snapper. All we have to do is type sudo, because it has to be as root, because it's the root file system, Snapper undo change for ... 5 in chronological order. So that recreates the deleted files and modifies the grub-btrfs config file again. Create 4, modify 1, and delete nothing. See how that works? So it just reversed or just undid exactly the change we just did. So neofetch should work again, and sure enough, it does. Okay, now let's play around with it a little bit more. Let's clear the screen, and let's redo the removal. Supposing we said, we don't like neofetch after all. Let's repeat that Snapper operation, or the pacman operation. We would sudo Snapper undo change, and now we do the reverse order. We do 5 ... 4. So we went the opposite chronological way. So that creates nothing, modifies 1 because it's the grub menu, and it deletes those 4 files again, including neofetch. So if we type neofetch, neofetch is gone. So you see how that works? Pretty simple. Again, this Snapper LS gives you the entire history of your file system changes. So to get neofetch back again, we've done this already. Let's do it one more time because I like neofetch. Sudo Snapper undo change and for ... 5. See how powerful this is? So we've recreated those 4 files, modified the grub menu, and deleted nothing. So neofetch is back. There it is. Okay, so that's how simple you can roll back and forward with Snapper on your system. Could be nothing simpler. Let's install another important package, yay, Snapper GUI. So it's on the AUR, it's under development. It's not quite there like it is in OpenSUSE Tumbleweed or OpenSUSE in general, but it's kind of handy to have if you prefer a GUI utility for managing Snapper snapshots. So it does the pre-transaction hooks and the post-transaction hooks. So we have snapshots 8 and 9. So you can see if I do a Snapper LS. So, yep, you must create a default config. Yeah, we did that already. Just a friendly reminder from them. Okay, so Snapper GUI should just work because we already configured the Snapper CLI named root. So let's test it. Let's sudo grub-mkconfig -o/boot/ grub/grub.cfg just to make sure our grub menu is configured. And pick up anything that we've manually done so far. I don't think we have, but I can't emphasize this enough. Just issue this command as often as you can, just to make sure that Snapper LS, if Snapper LS shows 9 snapshots, that the grub menu entry also shows 9 available snapshots. As you can see, 9 and 9. And it's successful. Okay. I'm a stickler for these things. Bear with me, please. And apologies if you find this boring. Okay, let's clear the screen and the terminal rather, and there's Snapper GUI. Let's make this a little bigger. So it pairs up the pre and post snapshots, as you can see. They're all 9 are there. Cleanup number, that's the cleanup algorithm, is number. So that's allows us to limit the number of snapshots here. So we've got 4 and 5 as a pair. So this is our neofetch uninstall pair. And if you select the pre-snapshot, you can click on changes here and dive in to the snapshot itself and take a look and see what kind of changes have happened with the individual files here. It's copy and write system, like I said, but you can see here it changed the submenu. And yeah, we won't dive into Snapper GUI too much because that's just for people that like to look at the gory details. But it could help you remind you, if needed, what these snapshot pairs actually did to your system. It's kind of handy. So yeah, this operation removed certain files here, so that's why they're in red, because this is an uninstall Pacman operation. All right. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, what else here? Yeah, we can take a look at the changes for the grub-btrfs .new. So I believe that's the snap grub package installation. And yeah, that did a whole bunch of configuration changes. So yeah, again, don't have time in this video. This video is going to be long enough to go into too much detail here. But yeah, you can browse the snapshot directory and take a look at all the details that your snapshots are doing on your system. Okay. So let me just close that. And yeah, kind of a nice handy utility. You can also create snapshots here or create a new configuration in addition to your root configuration, which is a prereq for Snapper GUI. Again, this is still under Git development on the AUR, so I don't generally use it very much myself. Haven't needed it myself, but there it is if you should need it. So Snapper LS, this is our current state. That's our Snapper status. Let's see here. So we've got 3 and 4 as pairs, 5 and 6 as pairs. Let's sudo snapper delete 4 and 5 because we won't be uninstalling NeoFetch anymore. So let's see, we say we want to clean up our snapshot list here. So just do sudo snapper delete 4 and 5. And Snapper LS shows that 4 and 5 are gone. So that whole operation with uninstalling NeoFetch is now gone. And so that's how you manually clean up your Snapper history, your snapshot, the snapshots on root. So let's break this system. Let's simulate a disaster. So since this is a virtual machine that we're using for testing, please don't do this in production. And you are backed up, right? So let's sudo rm-fr/etc, my favorite way of breaking the system. Remove the entire etc configuration directory. So you can see it's gone. So now let's make sure it's broken by rebooting. Let's see if it boots back up again. So, EndeavourOS on Linux is the default one. And welcome to your new installation of EndeavourOS. Please configure your system. Yeah, it's totally broken. It will no longer function without etc. So let's reboot and go to our EndeavourOS snapshots. So we should have 7 snapshots available, right? In reverse chronological order. We got rid of 8 and 9 with the NeoFetch deletion. So we go back to our base system configuration is a good, safe status. So let's boot from our base system configuration. Won't use the fallback image. Oh, look, it boots right back up again. And there we go. It's a read-only snapshot, right? So we just use this to test if this is a bootable snapshot, and it looks like it is. And which means it restored our /etc directory. Well, it hasn't restored it yet. It's just made it available again because it's an older snapshot. So, like I just said, this is read-only snapshot. Snapper does read-only only, so it doesn't cause your snapshots to be inadvertently changed in any way. So let's roll back snapper command with the archway. The regular rollback command is just simply not reliable in my way. So we'll just, again, just do it the archway. ArchWiki gives you some good examples. We'll just do a simple restore or rollback as they recommend on the ArchWiki. So /etc looks good. It's complete again. So we're good to roll back to this snapshot. So we do that by doing a sudo btrfsSubvol list / and check what the list shows in terms of what we're currently on and confirm that we're on the correct snapshot. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5 are gone, 6, 7, 8, 9 are left. Let's do a snapper ls. And as you can see, if you look at the base system configuration snapshot, there's a little minus sign there. That means we're currently booted to this snapshot, right? That's what we expected. So we can just confirm and check our work here. So we want to roll back the archway to this snapshot. So we need to mount it first as read write. So sudo mount /dev/vda2 /o subvol ID equals 5, which is our root file system tree, /mount. That's right, this is the top level, ID 256. So subvol ID 5 for a top level, so that we can go in there and take a look at the subvolumes that we have. So now this is the mounted broken system, right? Because we are booted read-only on Snapshot 3, but our current file system is on Snapshot 9 post. So let's go to mount, and there are our subvolumes at home, at snapshots, and at var. The broken one is at because that's where Etsy lives, and we want to restore Etsy, right? Because I deleted that to break the system earlier. So we let's check a cat at Etsy/fstab. Of course, fstab is gone. So at is broken. So we're going to mark it as broken. So what we're going to do is rename it. So sudo move, or mv, at to at.broken. Okay, that's done. So we've got at moved over to the broken section. And now what we need to do is grab the healthy at, the non-broken version, from our base system configuration, Snapshot 3. So how do we do that? Very simple. All we do is sudo btrfs subvol, or subvolume, you can spell it out, snapshot /mount / snapshots, which is a separate subvolume, right? /3, which is our snapshot we want to roll back to, /snapshot /mount /at. So that'll be our new at subvolume, our root subvolume, our root path. See, that's 3. That's a correct snapshot that we like to roll back to. Very simple, using this command. There we go. So we create a copy, a snapshot of snapshot number 3. So let's do, so we rolled back. Let's do an ls-a, and you see we have at and at.broken. So let's cat at /fstab shows the file system table as being restored, as well as the rest of the Etsy directory, right? We do ls at/etsy, and there it is. Okay, we've unbroken our system, we hope. And this is using the Arch way, not the Snapper rollback way, which I found is not necessarily reliable, as I mentioned earlier. So let's reboot. And let's boot the main system. Ah, perfect. We're back in business. We are back in business. Okay. So let's open up the console, and let's ls/etsy, and Etsy is back as if nothing ever happened. So that's how we rolled back to snapshot number 3 using the Arch way, as described in the Arch wiki. All right, sudo btrfs subvol list / and we'll pipe it to look for the broken subvolume. And there is the broken subvolume. So we don't need it anymore. So let me remove it. So in order to do that, we do what we did before during the snapshot rollback. We want to clean this up by mounting the file system again, right? So we sudo mount /dev/vda2, as we did before just now, -o for options, subvol ID = 5, again as before, /mount, and there we have our broken subvolume. So let's sudo remove -fr at .broken. We don't need it anymore. Consign it to history. It's hesitating here. Oh, operation not permitted. Let's see. I want to get rid of that. Maybe we need to reboot. I'm not sure what's happening here, folks. It's still there. I'll try again a little bit later, I think. Let's ignore this for now. Just bear with me. I'll try again in a moment until I figure out what's going on. I'm sure it's something simple. Sudo umount /mount, since I guess that broken removal didn't work. All right, what next? Let's see, what can I show you guys now? Let's make sure that we've got all our snapshots still. Looks like we do. Yeah, that broken one's still there. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that. I'll try again. I will try again. If at first you don't succeed, try again, right? All right, Snapper LS. So there we go. It's like we're back in business. Those are all our snapshots. Snapshots aren't removed from just a rollback. You still have your snapshots and your entire history. So you still can use that to operate on the system with undo change commands or whatever you need to do. That's what's so wonderful about this system, especially a rolling system like this. Okay, let's clear the screen. Let's continue, shall we? Let's sudo snapper --ambit classic rollback snapshot 3. Let's make it official with the rollback command to let Snapper know that we've actually rolled back to 3. Look how quickly it happened. With the power of btrfs, read-only snapshot of current system is made to snapshot 10, creating a read-write snapshot, snapshot 11 of snapshot 3. So setting the default subvolume to snapshot 11. And that means that the default boot is snapshot 11. So if you do Snapper LS, you can see what it did with snapshots 10 and 11. And so it's important equals yes for snapshot 10. And snapshot 11 has a plus sign next to it, which means that's the default snapshot volume, subvolume, and it's a writable copy of number 3, which is our base system configuration. So that's how Snapper rollback works, and it usually works much better on a running non-read-only system. Okay, let's clear the terminal, and remember, let's sync up our grub submenu so that we have access to all our snapshots, including our most recent ones. So it's the usual command, grub make config. And there it is, it found 9 snapshots again. So it went from 7 to 9 because we made a rollback backup and a writable copy. These, again, this is reverse chronological order. These are the last 2 snapshots at the top of your grub submenu. So let's reboot rather. And let's go to the EndeavourOS snapshots, and as you can see, we can boot from our entire selection that we have left over, minus the neofetch uninstall pair, right? Okay, so it looks like the system is synced up, and everything is just working fine. Let me log in again. Let me see if I can't just fix that at .broken subvolume. Let me just launch console again. Let's do a Snapper LS. Yeah, so everything is working fine. We're running on snapshot 11. Okay. Let me try this one more time. Let me clear the terminal. One more time. May need to research this issue. Or we could just run OpenSUSE, where everything Snapper is perfectly configured, right? Now we're sticking with Arch today, right? Right, guys? Yeah, this is not a tumbleweed video. Okay, but it works amazingly in tumbleweed, I have to say. So let's switch to the root. Directories become root with sudo-s. Let's do the mount thing again with mount/dev/vda2 and the option with dash lowercase o, subvol ID equals 5 /mount. Let's change into the /mount directory. Yep, there it is. Yeah, there's hardly anything in there. Let's remove -fr at .broken from the root shell this time instead of sudo, right? Oh, and it worked. Okay. ls-a. All right, our system is cleaned up. The .broken subvolume is gone now. All right, it worked. Okay, yeah, the second try worked perfectly. Let's exit out of root. Yeah. So we've got a working system. Let's sudo btrfs subvol list / and let's grep for broken. And it should be gone, should show nothing, and it does. Okay, broken is truly gone. No more broken subvolumes. All right, we've got all our snapshots there, everything that we need. Okay. And that's that for today. That was quite an adventure, and if you made it this far, thank you. I'd suggest playing around with Snapper on a VM or a system you don't care about until you are comfortable that it does what you want. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials like this. Until next time, take care and have lots of fun.